It's like a baby's toy.
I'm totally Batman.
Oh, man.
Shh. Communing with the earth spirits.
Welcome to California, bud.
Cowabunga.
And after that, I just sort of space out for about an hour.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Secondary Heroes podcast. This week, we're talking about video game adaptations in film and TV. This is your host, Trevor, and joining me as usual is...
It's a me, Prague.
I'm an Uncharted hitman on Rampage. This is Alexander Wolfgang. Hey,
Well
fellas.
done, Uncharted. All right.
Ooh. Uncharted, Hitman, and Rampage.
Specific. Okay,
There
nice.
we go.
Those three. Very nice.
3 games. Well, it was just, it worked. It was easy.
It did.
We haven't done one of these episodes in a long time, have we?
No, we keep reviewing stuff, so this is kind
Yeah.
of nice.
Yeah, it's nice to step away from the reviewing and actually talk about a topic.
A topic
I
that's
got it.
based on what we've been reviewing. Crazy.
A lot
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. For the most part.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
It is the year of video game adaptations.
Yeah,
Oh, is
pretty
that what we're
guessed.
talking about? Oh, man.
Oh, Alex.
Hey, I didn't have to watch anything this time. It was fantastic.
Thank goodness.
But yeah, video games, man, it's a big thing this year, isn't it?
Who would have guessed, too, that going into this year, that it would take mushrooms? Because think how many video game adaptations there's been. But we just had the mushrooms that were evil in Last of Us, and then we have the mushrooms that are power-ups in Mario, and they've taken over the pop culture landscape this year.
Yeah. The fungus among us have taken over.
You didn't just come up with that on your own, did you?
No, I did. I mean, it's just this what I do.
Oh my god.
God, the Among Us reference, too. Just really good.
Wow.
Anyways.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah. I mean, we like video games. That's kind of what we started our podcast doing, was talking about Fortnite. So we're kind of going back to our roots, really.
Yeah, I
So,
guess
here
so.
we are.
The Fortnite, so I was thinking about that, and if they were to make a movie out of that, it just I can't see how they could anyways, but anyways, it
Oh,
was
I
just
know.
something-
I know how it will, because I wrote it in my notes today. That's going to be just like Jumanji, because The Rock has already talked about making this movie. So
You're
it's just going to
kidding.
be Jumanji with him going into the game and bringing friends into the game, and they're going to be different characters and fight
and
each
do
other.
the same thing. Well,
Same.
maybe they'll do a Space Jam type of way of looking at it, where
Oh yeah, it'll be a little bit of that too mixed
Yeah.
in for sure. It'll be a hot mess.
where
I'd much
Thanos
rather play
can
it.
shoot his gauntlet
Right.
against Goku.
Oh no, he'll have a whole like TikTok twerk dance that was well
Oh,
in the
yeah.
movie. Yes.
anyways,
Fortnite.
let's get into this. Trevor, where are we starting? How are we starting?
That's a really, really good question, because you could start almost anywhere, and I think the big thing is starting with now, just because why was it The Last of Us and Mario? Because there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of video game adaptations, but why did it really resonate this year? Because we've had success, but I don't think we've ever had critically acclaimed success that Last of Us has had with a video game adaptation. And Mario's now one of the top. It's going to make over $1 billion by next week. It's the top grossing animated film of all time. And video game adaptations, it's the commercial success. So we have both of them. And
Yep.
but why is it this year? Why are audiences finally so receptive?
That's a good question. And this just came to me right now, is that we spent, a couple years in lockdown in COVID, and there was nothing else to do but to play video games. And maybe a lot of people went back to that. Like people who had just given up on video games went back and went, hey, I have nothing to do. I can't go anywhere. Maybe I'll play these video games. New, old, doesn't matter. Check them out. And they kind of became the talking point for a lot of people during COVID, like Animal Crossing specifically. So maybe that was it. It was just part of our consciousness for the last few years, and everyone wanted to see those stories on the big screen. That's my guess.
Well,
I don't know.
For Hollywood, I feel like the stories are already written. You just have to adapt it to film. Like
Right, it makes it easier, right? You don't have to hire a screenwriter. Well, you do, but you don't have to like hire somebody that's probably good necessarily
well,
to write
look
some
at
of these.
and as we said in the beginning, look at Last of Us. Last of Us already had a solid groundwork with it.
Right.
It already had a solid fan base as well. You just needed a great leading couple, and
Yeah.
that's all you needed. Mario didn't. I never saw Mario, but I don't know if it actually needed to have Chris Pratt to lead that movie. I'm guessing you guys have already seen it by now, yeah?
I have not. Trevor has seen it.
I think I'm the only one
We
who's seen
noted.
it, but I don't think the voice acting is what makes it successful. But what's interesting is that Mario was also the first movie that was adapted from a video game, like
A long time ago.
1993, and they made it live action. And I don't know if it's making it animated. I don't know what it is, but this movie is really reaching uncharted territory in terms of so many
Uncharted.
people talked about it. Just like when they're talking about it has like one of the lowest drops from week 1 to week 2, where everyone saw it and said it was good and told all their friends, and then they went and saw it. And then week 3 is now one of the smallest week 3. It's one of the biggest week 3 box offices ever. So this movie's going to have a super long tail to it, and we don't really have movies like that anymore. A lot of movies now have a big,
true.
huge opening weekend, and then it's dead. Let's wait for it to come out on streaming or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to jump back to the 1993 Mario movie because at least with this one, they're staying true to who Mario, what a Goomba is, who Bowser is, XYZ. The directors of the 1993 movie never even saw Mario the video game. They were told it's a movie. It's going to be a movie about a plumber that goes into tunnels, and
Yep.
they pretty much came up with whatever they wanted.
Now, fun story. When I think I was probably 13, I guess, when this movie came out, so 12, 13. I had read before the movie even came out in Highlights magazine, if you remember that back in the day, those of you who are older in our audience. And they had that interview with the people behind the scenes. I saw pictures. I'm like, that is not a Goomba. And the quote was directly, "Oh no, we've never played the video game. We've never even seen it." And that's when I knew. I'm like,
It was almost like
before I
they were
even saw the
proud
movie,
about it.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not gonna see this movie, but I did anyways, and it was awful. And I was like, what is this? This is not Mario. I loved Mario, and I was obsessed with Mario as a kid. And I go and see this movie. I'm like, what is this? I mean, I can watch it in retrospect and make fun of it and have fun with how goofy and campy it is, but that was not Mario. That's
but
why
when
it
they
didn't do
turned,
well.
even in that one, they even turned Luigi into the main character, and how him and Princess Peach actually had the love connection. It was like, just watch someone else play the first level, and then you'll get a better idea of this.
I wonder if it's an homage to the source material resonates better, because Last of Us nails the source material. Like, they have a few different inflection points built within the world, but they actually go beat for beat. Like, the finale is a sequence that you play in the game. Like, they do that. And you can tell that with the Mario movie, everyone who made it, and they worked directly with Nintendo, loves Mario. The way they included the soundtrack, the way they have all these Easter eggs from all the different video games that Mario's been in over time, you can just tell. And I wonder if it's caring about the source material is what makes them finally resonate, because to your point, there was a lot of early games or movies, whether it's Mario, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Lara Croft, Resident Evil, Doom, and they're all like versions on it. It's like based on. You know, it's not necessarily, this is just like the video game.
Yeah, you're right. I think, too, is that they underestimated how many people actually played these games and that love these games. And I think once you capitalize on that, you're going to get good returns on your investment. Because so many people play video games now. It's not like this like niche thing that only nerds do, like back in the 80s and 90s. It's everybody of all ages, all types. Everyone plays video games now. So, yeah. If you are going to do it, pay homage to the source material. I think another point would be the music. Music is extremely important. I think you had mentioned this last week, Trevor, to me at least, that the music in the Mario Brothers movie was the music from the video games. Like, it brings back that sense of nostalgia, right? You go, oh, I remember that. The same thing with Last of Us used the main theme song. They create a whole new theme song just for the show. That'd be silly. Music plays a big part in video games. So if you are able to, utilize the music, the soundtrack from the video games, that's going to help too moving forward. And I think that's also helped with the success of these two.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Music, it's that thing that just inherently sparks your mind. I just don't know if it's your sense of hearing has such a strong trigger to memories, but it feels like music can spark nostalgia, maybe the strongest.
Oh, absolutely. It's okay. I've got two albums that whenever I hear them, I get taken. Sum 41 and Alien Ant Farm. For some reason, when I did my European trip, all I had was those two albums. So
So
anytime
now
I
you
hear
think of
one
it, right?
so every time I think of or
Right.
I hear one of those songs, it takes me right back to being in France or England or whatever. But the one thing
Exactly.
that I wanted to ask you guys, and I know that I don't believe you guys favored this movie very well, but it felt like after Ready Player One came out, I felt like there was almost like a more surge of better video game movies. And could it be a little piece of like, hey, Ready Player One was a big success. At least the book was a huge success. The movie helped with the nostalgia factor of some of these older video games. Do you think that that could be a fun little jumping off point for this stuff? Because all of a sudden it's like, boom, now we've got Mario. We've got all these other things that we're now talking about universes.
Yeah, that was kind of like the multiverse version of the video game adaptations. You had everything in that movie, but you also had all pop culture too, for sure.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
and it helps that it was Spielberg, that directed that film. Yeah, I guess so. I think it kind of primed people, but it was kind of, I feel like that was almost too long ago now. It's pre-COVID era, so I don't know if it really
Yeah,
did
okay,
much
never
for
mind.
that aspect of it. But I do know a lot of people resonated with that aspect of seeing those characters that they thought they probably would never see on the big screen for any reason. So
Right.
maybe they were like, hey, you know what? This is something that I want more of, and we get to have more of that now. So
And I guess another one I think that resonates is Wreck-It Ralph. Maybe
yeah, that was kind of a big deal,
when
huh?
yeah, when Wreck-It Ralph came out, and then even the second movie, which nobody really talks about, that really exploded a whole video game renaissance as well for movies.
Sure.
Especially the retro games, because that's like really harkens back to appeal to people that aren't just young. Like if you made a movie that was Fortnite is a very particular audience, but if you make
Yeah.
something that's based on an 80s arcade game, that just has a wider stretch to connect to people.
Yeah, I mean, you have the kids in the door, right, with the animated stuff, and then you have the
Yeah.
adults that have to sit through it, and yeah, they're gonna enjoy that.
Well, and that's so. For instance, the Ready Player One, or even the Wreck-It Ralph, I noticed that both of them like to hit on that retro stuff for the older crowd, but they also like to hit the new stuff. Ready Player One had a lot of Street Fighter references, but it also had Atari references. And same with Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph had, like a Mario Kart-esque type of thing, but it also had, hey, over here you could still play like a Rampage type of game. So it feels like they're juggling this whole, we're going to hit the new school with the old school with some of these movies.
And right now we're in a climate for movies that it almost has to be a guaranteed success for it to reach theaters. Like
Yeah.
a lot of studios are cutting back on experimenting or trying anything. And so if you cut down to the core idea of what are video games, Mario. Like literally somehow in a survey Mario outpaced Mickey Mouse in being recognized for as many people as possible. It was close. It was like 94% versus 92%, but 94% of people surveyed knew who Mario was. You grab any random group of people to have 94% recognizing anything is pretty tough.
Anything at all. Any person, any entity, any character. Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
But
That is
to
nuts.
Prague's point with COVID and the pandemic, what's really interesting is that Valentine's Day 2020, it's before the world shut down. Like the pandemic was on the news. It was like, oh, that's something that's happening, elsewhere. It's not happening here yet. We're not too worried yet. Oh, it's just like the flu. All those things that people said. And
Right.
Sonic came out. I feel like Sonic
God.
had to walk for Mario to run, which is ironic because Sonic's all about running. But Sonic, it's a live action thing, but people were like, it was good for a video game movie. I remember that was the most common review of Sonic. It's
It was
good,
good,
for a video
game
movie.
movie.
Because
Yeah.
video games have that stink. Video game movies that, they've been so bad. And it's tough to overcome that perception-wise. But I feel like Sonic was just good enough for people to give Mario a chance.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that. I actually kind of forgot the Sonic movie existed, to be honest with you.
But even
Sorry,
with this,
2 movies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2 movies.
Oh my god, there's a second. I don't remember seeing
Yeah.
the second one.
I
Has it already
haven't
come out?
seen the second one.
Oh,
It
I
came out
haven't
last
seen
year.
Oh my god. Well, okay, so when we jump back to Sonic, though, having that amount of news with Sonic when they first showed what Sonic was going to look like, and then the outcry from fans everywhere, pretty much saying this isn't Sonic. You can't put this out, type of thing. And now even that is even being joked about in other movies, which is hysterical. But I think seeing these companies seeing that amount of people and the love that they have for these video games, that right there was like a huge, I'm getting the internet.
Yeah.
Everybody right here is telling me we want this in a
We
different
want this, but we want it right. Yeah, we want it.
right. Exactly.
Want it
Just
right.
like Mario. I think Mario was perfect for them because Sonic, just like you said, Sonic walked so Mario could run. You're absolutely right. Which is weird.
I
Yeah,
wonder
right.
if it ties it all together. It's just the beloved IP, and that it has to be a beloved IP. It has to be a really strong IP for it to even become a movie. And then you see that people really care about these IPs. They don't want you to, we've seen taking video games and just butchering them. That's not like the video game at all. And so maybe it all kind of connects together.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the theme of everything in Hollywood the last decade or so, IPs. And what better IP than video games, really? So it's kind of like this untapped, even though it's been done, but it really is untapped.
Because they haven't done it right yet. It's really interesting because it's a fun juxtaposition when you think of Uncharted versus Last of Us. We've definitely focused on movies, but Uncharted's a movie and it's just mediocre. It's mid. It's not bad. It's not good. It's something that happened and you forget about it. And Last of Us, it's made literally by the same studio as a video game. Naughty Dog makes both. But they're so different when it comes to being on screen. Is it doing 10 hours versus 2 hours? Is it actually taking... I wonder how much was the difference of HBO taking their time versus Sony just literally releasing a movie with something they already have.
Well, Sony's terrible, so it's probably Sony.
Yeah.
But just throwing them under the bus because they're awful. I think that you could have done Uncharted as a movie and have it be just as good as The Last of Us show, but in a different way. But I think this just they didn't care. I just don't think they cared much about the source material. And I think that's the difference. If you care about the source material and you hit those beats that made gamers remember moments. I remember so many different moments in video games that I think back on all the time that stand out to me. They're fantastic for whatever reason. And you put those in your show or movie, and then your audience is going to eat it up and love it.
Yeah.
It could be a small moment too, but it could still be impactful.
And
hey, I'm
it's
still
funny
hoping for a good Assassin's Creed movie. So
yeah, I know Assassin's Creed has some iconic sequences of playing.
Oh my
through it.
god! And it could be so good. It could be so
I know.
good.
There's still hope. I really do think
look
so.
at-
I think with these.
Look at Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat was great. They were
It was
able
fun.
to figure it out. They figured it out and made it work. I
There you
mean,
go.
the old 90s one was fun, but the new one really
it's
dove
okay.
into more lore, though. But,
Right.
well, it was fun. It's fun. It's a fun, bad movie. Come on, Prague.
Right.
Video game movies should be fun, and I
Yeah,
feel
they
like
should be fun if anything.
they definitely. That's what I think Last of Us can kind of counter people it's a fun video game thing. It's for kids. Last of Us is not a kids show at all. It's extremely adult with a lot of adult concepts going on, and I feel like you can have both. You can have an in-depth thing based on a video game and go really dive deep into a world, because video games, what they do is they have to create a world for you to play in. whatever that world
all
is, they
it-
have
that's
to
what it
create a
is.
world. Every single video game creates a world for you to play in. So all the world building's already been done for you. It's then you can have a fun story and just go bounce around the Mushroom Kingdom, or you can go really deep and see how humans react to an apocalypse. But they both come from the same point.
Yep.
It's just a
It's
matter
a
of how you
wide
take
spectrum
that.
there.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so could this be another thing too? The fact that the generation that we are now, we grew up with Mario. Like, we're the ones who are like, we would now want to show our kids, hey, this is what I grew up with, and this is now something that you are enjoying too if you're playing Mario Kart, or this is something that we could share together. Back when the original Mario movie came out, or all these other video game movies, like, let's just say Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter.
Okay.
I was maybe 8 or 9. I'm not able to pay for that stuff. My parents are like, this is stupid. They don't play video games. All the other kids my age, their parents didn't play video games. They didn't care about it. So I think now really is
It's
the
different,
best
right.
time for this, because the kids who were playing the video games back then are the ones who are like, hey,
Have kids now, and they can take those kids
Exactly.
to the movies to watch these things. Watch them
Yes.
with them.
Not only that, it's when when all of us were kids, your parents aren't going to play the video games with you. You know, now if you grew up playing video games, you want to play video games with your kids. It's a whole different dynamic.
right.
Well, I think now is a good time for some socials. Like a social
Oh,
break
wow.
is in order.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, because I totally forgot.
I know. I was like,
Well,
Before we
hey,
get halfway
everybody. Make sure to check us out over on crossthestreamsmedia.com. You can leave us a voicemail. You can go there. You can find all of our episodes, everything on YouTube. You can leave us a review over there. You can do a whole lot on crossthestreamsmedia.com. And you can find other really fun shows. Last week we had Front Row Negative as a guest. Who knows? Maybe we'll have more guests coming soon. And yeah, we like to cross the streams, if I may. If you don't want to go to crossthestreamsmedia.com, check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and Faceball. Faceball. Because that's a thing now.
it's like Spaceballs, but Faceball. Nice.
Exactly. Facebook, all at Secondary Heroes. Make sure to go over to YouTube. Check us out at Secondary Heroes. Drop a like on our video, man. It gets more people seeing us, because we want to be seen. Yes. And then if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. Leave a 5-star review. That pushes us out even farther. We want to be heard, because that's why we do this, I guess. I really don't know. Hey, but remember, all of this is free for you. It's priceless to us.
Excellent. So
Wow, that was hard.
that's kind of where we stand. But obviously, with the success of both Last of Us and Mario, I hope you're ready for the absolute avalanche and onslaught of video game adaptations. Hollywood's going to throw every single video game they can get their hands on against the wall and see what sticks.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. Here we go. It's
Hey.
all coming.
I thought, okay, so the other day I put Tetris on, and when I originally heard that they were going to make a Tetris movie, I thought, oh no, how are you going to do this? And then
And?
it was phenomenal.
All right.
It was really
There you
great.
go.
It was about the story of how Tetris got made and how Tetris got released into the US. And wow, there's a whole lot of stuff that happens with Tetris, because you're dealing with the Russians, you're dealing with America, and you're dealing with the Brits. And it is all over the place, man. It's a lot of fun. And I mean, I think the guy who played Elton John, and
Taron Egerton.
thank you, that's the name I was looking for. He's the lead, and he is fantastic. It is a very good movie. I encourage everybody to go watch Tetris. You can find it, I believe. Where can you find it? HBO?
No idea.
No, I'll look it up. You guys
All right.
continue. I'll find it.
But I like that the Tetris movie wasn't just the pieces like the Emoji Movie, and they were like interacting with one another.
2 hours of that. Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's on Apple TV.
All right, there you go.
There you go.
Well, what's next? The Tamagotchi movie? That'd be fun.
I'm not
Just little
doubting that that's gonna-
Tamagotchi creatures moving around. It could be. Hey,
Yeah, that's what
They
we
can make an
call
emoji
Detective
movie.
Pikachu.
yeah. See,
Tom-
So Detective
Tamagotchis are pretty
Pikachu, I really enjoyed Detective Pikachu.
I did too. I thought it was a very fun movie.
I
Ryan
heard good
Reynolds, you
things.
can't go wrong.
And with Detective Pikachu and a Mario movie, it does make you wonder, is Nintendo like building a shared universe where all these things happen? One interesting point is that in the Mario movie, I know you guys haven't seen it, but Peach is looking up at the stars and she's like, there's a lot of universes out there.
Oh, jeez.
And she just
What?
drops it.
Oh,
She just drops it out there and they move on.
Wow.
Anyways, carrying on. You sure she didn't wink at the camera when she did that?
There's a lot of universes out there.
Ah,
You guys want to share another mushroom?
right? We take enough of these, we could probably visit those.
Okay.
Yeah, fun. That's gonna happen for sure.
If or when whatever that this does happen, that there is going to be a Nintendo universe, please, 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 this is me begging to the universe right now, make a Star Fox movie. I want Star Fox so bad. I am a giant Star Fox fan.
I feel like the question is, how do you do it if you're Nintendo?
I was gonna say
Because Mario 2, Yoshi's story has to come out. There has to be some kind of aspect to that. And it's kind of, do you follow the Marvel aspect? Because Iron Man 2 came out really quick. It was like Iron Man, and then it was Hulk, and then Iron Man 2. Before Thor, Captain America even showed up, we already had Iron Man 2. So we could have Mario 2 before we do these other things, but then what order do we do this? When do we do a Zelda movie? When do we have Link make an appearance? When do we do a Metroid movie and Samus makes an appearance? We have to have Star Fox, because we're all building to one particular thing, which is Super Smash Brothers. That way you have your Avengers movie. But you have to start with the original cast. You got to get like those original Avengers. And it's a matter of, as Nintendo, what do you gamble on outside of like, Mario? Again, I told you, super recognizable. But what do you think is second tier for Nintendo? I would argue right now it's Zelda, just because Breath of the Wild was such a big deal on Switch, and we have a sequel coming out, which people are super hyped for.
It has to be
I mean,
Zelda.
It's
Yeah.
definitely Zelda, but here's my question before we started on this tangent was, how would you film this? Would you continue doing all of it animated? Or would some of it be live action and mixed? Because if you think about it, Star Fox
Yep.
would do well with the furries. Like, it would go over
Oh.
amazingly well with furries. So
Well,
you could do
okay.
live action with the suits.
I love that you just brought that up, because technically...
I'm not joking, though. Like, I'm joking kind of, but I'm not really. I think you could do pretty well.
Well, so technically, Sonic is a part of the Nintendo universe as well, in a way.
Correct. 'Cause
It's
of
a
the
They
Right.
licensed him to be part of Smash Brothers.
So that's a live action with animated. You
Same
kind
with
of
Detective Pikachu.
same with
Yep.
Detective Pikachu. It's almost like they're kind of are they pigeonholing themselves? Because you're gonna want these characters in the universe eventually.
Not really. I mean, if you use, like, say, the same voice actors that play like a live action version, and you bring them into Smash Brothers as a cartoon movie, like the Spider-Verse kind of a thing, like that could work. Be like, oh, that's recognizable because that's the same voice actor or the whatever that
Yeah,
played him
Ben
in the live
Schwartz
action
being
version.
Sonic.
Something, right? Something like that. Whatever the case may be.
Ooh,
Or if you
boy.
had, like, say you do have Link, and Link is an actual actor on screen, and then but that voice, he voices then the cartoon version of himself in the Smash Brothers movie. Somehow, somewhere
Because I think
down the line.
that it's easier to put live action into animated. I think it would be really weird to be like, here's live action Mario now.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to do that. No. For sure. But I definitely want a live action Zelda at some point.
Is Captain Lou Albino still alive? Because he can easily just jump back
No
into that
idea.
Mario.
There's so many people that I thought were dead that are still alive, so possibly. Every day I'm like, I had no idea.
That sounds like a whole nother episode that we can get into.
Yeah, who's still alive? Oh man. It's a lot.
No,
Long list.
it's just such an interesting thing, because games, for the most part, they all look like animation cartoons. So
Some
why-
are looking more photorealistic now. But yes,
There's
for the
more
most
and more
part.
photo, and that's a whole different that's when you're going to lend yourself for The Last of Us. Like, there's the really
Right.
bright colors, poppy idea of animated style, but then you have a Last of Us style game. But just to focus on Nintendo, I think the only reason it's really a possibility is because Universal, who owns the Illumination studio, they want something to compete with Disney.
This will do it.
They need some kind of shared universe to compete with Disney, because Warner Brothers, they're going to keep trying the same shared universe over and over and over again. They're going to bring in different creative minds ad nauseum. You're going to see Batman every different way you possibly can for every decade,
Forever.
the rest of
It's
your
never
life.
gonna end.
It's
Yep.
just always going to be some new version. They're doing that, but Universal doesn't really have that, and I think they might have stumbled upon it with the deal with Nintendo.
Yeah, they really lucked out with that.
Yeah.
Like really lucked
Because
out
if you
with
ever
that.
go to Universal Studios, you know that they've introduced Super Mario World. And this is one of the first times that something in their parks they actually produce, because Harry Potter World, that's a Warner Brothers property. Simpsons Land, that's Fox, which is under Disney. Like, the big parts of Universal Studios, this is the first time they actually make a movie of something in their parks.
Well, yeah, even Universal Studios Florida, they have a whole Marvel land. I mean, which some of the best rides I've ever ridden is in Marvel Land in Universal Studios Hollywood. But yeah,
Disney.
or Florida, not
Right.
Hollywood. Sorry.
But yeah, it's really interesting. So if Universal does go down this route, I mean, Illumination, their big claim to fame is doing the Minions and stuff. That can only go so far. Like, I get that's a whole pop culture thing. People
Like
dress
5
as Minions
seconds is
and
enough.
go to things now. That's
Not for
totally
me.
fine. But it's not the idea of what Nintendo could be. Because if you've seen Peach in the trailers or in any capacity, she looks very familiar to one character. And that's Samus. And wouldn't it be cool if Samus is trying to find her little sister this whole time?
I like
Because
this.
in the movie, Peach they show her origin story for how she arrives in Mushroom Kingdom. And
Okay.
that's why Samus has been going, like, there's no reason for Samus to do what she's been doing.
No.
Unless they give her this plot.
See, but that's the problem is you got Pauline as well. There's also Pauline. Then there's all these other female characters in the Mario universe that...
Maybe they're all related. Who knows?
Hey, Rosalina needs to be connected somehow.
Oh, man. Ooh, this just got fun.
But it's a really cool idea, because Metroid isn't like the big thing, especially because Nintendo hasn't released a really good Metroid game in a long time. It's
Right.
kind of on the super back burner, kind of like Star Fox. But it would, as Nintendo, it also helps you go and sell video games. Hey, let's make a new Star Fox game to come out with the release of a Star Fox movie.
Well, and they've
Have it tie in
already...
somehow.
And with Super Mario Land, what perfect timing that just opened a few months ago, and now we've got a movie that people are now going to be eyeballing this place really hard. I gotta go there now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Got to get all the merch, because they sell like popcorn buckets that are the Power Star and all kinds of stuff.
I still have my season pass. I should probably go.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
Power up.
I do want to go really bad.
But okay,
Okay.
so I know that we said which one we think would come out next, which is most likely going to be Zelda, Link, and all that. What Nintendo universe would you guys want? Like, what are we wanting to see join this
for me,
universe?
it's Metroid. We already talked about that.
Okay, so Metroid.
I'll move on from that. But Metroid for me, for sure.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite games from Nintendo. So probably that.
Okay. Sorry, I feel like maybe I jumped backwards then.
No. For me, I would love to see an Animal Crossing movie. I don't know
That
how
makes
they
the
would
most
do
sense,
it,
I think, right now.
but
Yeah.
it would be. You could do anything. Like, do you focus on Tom Nook, or do you focus on all the villagers, or do you focus on the human element? Because I love the idea that there's been an apocalypse and there's only few humans left, and so Tom Nook is literally rounding them up to try to help them survive on these random islands that he has access to. That's why all of the animals speak and everything. It's like a Planet of the Apes type of future. I really like that storyline. That's super creepy, and I don't think that's what Nintendo would go for.
I don't know.
You never know. They might work.
I would love an Animal Crossing movie.
Yeah, I think after the pandemic, that was such a big hit. It would make sense for them to do it. It might be a little bit late for it now, but I'm sure there's still plenty of people that play it, and it will. I know it'll be fine. I think it might work better as a TV show, but I'm not too sure if Universal wants to do it on their own streaming platform or not. I don't know if enough
A
people
TV
really
show would be
subscribe to it.
interesting. I know a lot of people are subscribed to Peacock.
Oh, is that Peacock that owns Universal? That's
Yeah,
right, it
Universal
is.
owns
Okay.
Peacock. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it would work better that way in like shorter segments, like little animated segments or something.
It could be a really good sitcom type of thing because you could go
Exactly.
to all the different
Quick and
villagers,
simple,
have a different
funny.
storyline every time.
I mean, if you go on, like I have people that I follow that still play it, and they post like the funniest screen caps. Like there's so much humor in that game they can get away with. A lot of puns and everything. So I think it's something that could work better as a TV show. I don't necessarily see it as a full length feature. But some more ways to milk that money.
Well, and that's another interesting thing. Let's what would Nintendo want to do for certain? Is there going to be certain games that are going to work better as TV shows, and which ones would that even be? Like, how would it be just like the Marvel universe where everything's intertwined, where you kind of have to watch, where you have to watch this silly show that what were you guys talking about? I have no idea because I never played the game.
Interesting aspect of Nintendo is that a lot of their games aren't very story driven. Like the plot of Mario is very simple. There's not this whole I don't even know who this character is. What is the motives here? It's pretty cut and dry. Princess is captured, save princess.
Castle. Okay, that's
like Marvel, they have a whole history of very extensive storylines and intertwined, connected comic books that have been happening for 40, 50 years. And I feel like you don't have to have required viewing. Like, say you did a TV show about Kirby, but you didn't watch it, and then Kirby shows up, you're like, I know Kirby. He's that inflatable pink guy. And he can show up in Smash Brothers without you having watched anything Kirby-based. Because the storyline doesn't need to be as deep. It's not as like, oh, man, did you see that Kang was actually in Loki and now it makes sense when he's in Ant-Man? It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
I liked my joke. Yeah.
Well, and okay, so maybe that could be why these movies are also working. You said it perfectly that, yeah, there's really not much story to a lot of these Nintendo games from the past. I mean, Link has got to save Zelda.
Yep, same idea, right?
You go castle to castle until you find her, just like Mario goes castle to castle to find her. That's probably why these work better as movies and not TV shows. When then we go back to like Last of Us, where it's like, this is episodic. Like, you have to spend a lot of time here. We don't need to spend 10 hours with Mario. I just need a good 90 minutes with Mario to get a good story out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a really tight hour and 32 minutes too. Like, there's really no wasted scenes.
Huh. Well, there you go.
They said the pre-order for that movie on disc is not coming until November, and I have no idea how that is possible in 2023.
Crazy, right?
Usually things are on streaming in like a month. I have no idea what Nintendo and Universal are doing with that one.
That's weird. So
maybe
we're
they're just
going
gonna
to
keep in theaters forever.
Maybe the pre-order is just like a temporary placeholder date. They don't want to actually reveal what it is, but hopefully not.
Unless they have some other deal going, like a streaming deal before the disc comes out. That's my only guess.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I hope so. Good Lord. So I'm not going to buy the movie. So at dinner tonight, I was like, I kind of want to see this Mario movie. And everybody's like, why? These are people who don't play video games, obviously. But it was like, I don't know. I hear really good things, but I'm not I'm not gonna go buy a disc or anything like that. Anyways,
Right.
I don't know.
No, it makes sense. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, yeah, I'd rather
So-
watch it on streaming somewhere if I already paid for it.
I know that we've been talking a lot about Nintendo, but there are a lot of other, like for instance, Sony has a really, really good, strong story with Final Fantasy. Could we possibly see a new version of Final Fantasy? Like they were the first to do a hyper realistic, like
Movie.
CGI, full length
Yeah.
CGI movie that bombed terribly.
Yeah.
Could we get something like that again because of Mario's doing so well?
Maybe
Hopefully.
I would say that might work better as like an HBO type show.
Because Final
like that.
Fantasy, I mean, you have so many games to work with, and each one
They're all
just
kind of
shares the
different.
name. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about it. So you could dive into whichever one you wanted to, and it has some of the best art in any video game ever. Like Final Fantasy is just
That would
gorgeously
it
designed.
would actually work, I think, really well as a Netflix series because Netflix, the one thing they are doing good right now is their animated series.
Oh, so you're
for, like,
thinking animated?
adult stuff. Yeah, I'm thinking keep it animated and make it like Arcane, like shows like that, like Edge Runners, like all these shows are a little
So
bit more
I
adult.
totally forgot about League of Legends Arcane, but that is one of my favorite TV shows that I've
Fantastic.
seen
And
recently.
you know
and
me, I'm not
that's
the
based
biggest
on a
on
video game.
animation. But holy cow, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, do it in that vein. I think you're going to get a lot of people liking it. Those are a big hit for Netflix. So yeah, why ruin what's broken? They have great artwork in those games. Keep the artwork. Keep the art
Especially
style.
because live action with what they do in Final Fantasy would be pretty tough.
Yeah, and I don't know if I really
Like
care to
guys
see
in
that.
cosplay trying
Yeah,
to do that.
no, yeah, I don't need that. So yeah, I'll go. You get Comic-Con for that. I'm good.
And just like you said, Final Fantasy, it's almost like no matter what game you're playing, it all usually has a pretty solid story. The first Final Fantasy game I ever played was on my Game Boy, like my original gray Game Boy, and it was one of the first Final Fantasy games to ever came out. And I was like, there were moments in the game where I was emotional reading the text on the screen going, oh my, I can't
This little
lose
kid's
this
like,
character. I can't lose. No, this was probably 6 years ago.
Okay.
When I was a little kid, I couldn't get through a Final Fantasy game. Now, as an adult, I'm playing it going, wait, where are you jump off the castle. Don't go down with
Don't do it.
What are you doing? Oh my god, dude. And there were moments where I'm like, I'm getting a little emotional. Anyways, Final Fantasy has great stories. I want to see even Final Fantasy VII. I'll never forget when Final Fantasy VII came out. It was the biggest thing ever. I would love to see that on a TV show, so I don't have to play it because I don't have.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I didn't even think about Final Fantasy for that purpose. Probably because they already had done it and it didn't work out. But I do think.
But now's the
it would
time
work so
to
much better. Yeah, it would work so much better. And
redo
people actually
stuff.
care about it.
And
Great
Square
news
Enix
stories
wants
too.
money. They like Square Enix is like, I'll take money.
Sure.
I think they need money, don't they?
And Square Enix is probably in a tougher position than some video game makers.
Right, but they're still with Sony, aren't they? I thought that they
I don't know
had.
who's with who right now.
Okay.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I thought they were, but maybe they're not anymore.
Yeah, don't listen to me. Don't listen.
But
you
you
might be
could
right.
do like Arcane. It's surprisingly gritty. As Final Fantasy is gritty, I think it helps. Like if it's too kind of like over the top,
Oh,
I feel
Castlevania
like-
was another one that came out recently that was really good.
Oh my god, everybody.
Same idea. You're right. Try to really keep it gritty.
yeah.
Yeah,
It depends
you have
on
to.
the game. Like that new Fallout show that
Right.
you're referencing behind you, that
Yes.
has to be gritty.
And it will be. So we were talking before the show. So Fallout's coming to HBO, and it's the same people that did Westworld. So if you watch Westworld, that show is effed up. I'm pretty sure this show will be gritty, for sure. I mean, it has to be. It's Fallout, so you got to see limbs flying everywhere. It's the best.
It's ironic, just so in terms of mobile games, there's a Fallout Shelter game where you create your little
Yeah.
Fallout Shelter, and it's like a little
Yeah.
simulation building game. A Westworld game came out like a year later, and it was the exact game.
Same thing.
And the makers of Fallout Shelter had to sue them, and they had to take Westworld down off the store. But it was the same identical game. So it's funny to have the Westworld
That's
creators
ironic.
making a Fallout show.
Yeah.
It's very ironic.
That's ironic. Like here, we'll get them back. We'll show you. Let's get those guys to make it. I don't know. That's pretty funny.
I love hearing about these
Sometimes.
mobile games and then thinking about the Angry Birds movies.
Well,
That was
speaking
a
of Angry
thing!
Birds. Well, no. Speaking of Angry Birds movies, and we talked about Sonic. Sega bought Rovio, the makers of Angry Birds,
Oh,
for
okay.
$776 million.
Whew.
So it wasn't just like a small little purchase.
Oh my
And
God.
I think it's more probably for the movies than the video games,
It would
which
have
is
to be. 'Cause I
really
don't think anyone
interesting.
plays the games anymore.
Right.
That is interesting.
Because now I want a
Weird.
shared universe where Sonic slingshots into pigs or something. I have no idea.
Rolls into their house.
But that's another one. I forgot about that.
Yeah, a lot of forgetful adaptations and such.
Oh my God,
from
there's a
games.
ton of forgetful. I had to start. I'm like looking up movies, going, "Wow, they actually did that."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Some ones are kind of rough around the edges. Well, anyways, are there other adaptations you guys would like to see?
I want them to continue on this whole train with Mortal Kombat. But
Continue on. All right.
could with Mortal Kombat, could they start getting more and more gory like the video game? Because then you're going to start losing more and more people. Because the
Maybe,
movie
maybe not.
wasn't that gory.
Sure.
Right.
But it
Maybe,
just
maybe not.
it succeeded off of a great story rather than being, disgusting like the video game is.
Like my only critique of that movie, even though I had fun watching it, was that it just wasn't gory enough for me.
Oh, you
personally.
needed it to be gory.
I
Yeah, but
needed it
you're
to
a
be
horror
gory.
fan too.
Yeah, that's true. But I think you could balance the two. I think you can take the fun of that movie and the well-written kind of narrative that kind of, I wouldn't call it well-written, but it's better than the first one for sure. But take that, the lore, and then add some more campy gore to it. Doesn't have to be over the top, but just add a little bit more to it. I think it'd be good. I think it'd work really well. That's another one that could work well as a series instead of a movie, possibly.
Yes.
Different big
Oh
fights
my
each
God.
week,
Totally.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
follow.
very
Yeah.
nice.
Ooh. But even that can turn into a universe builder as well.
Of
You
course.
you follow one character for a season, then you follow another character or something like that.
Sure.
I don't know. It makes me think I would love to see like them when I say them, I mean Hollywood. I would love to see Hollywood maybe remake The Wizard. And how would you put The Wizard together in this day and age with these type of movies? Having a kid bouncing from video game to video game,
I don't know.
trying to get to California.
California for the Fortnite Championship, FNCS Championship.
Oh my God.
And all he does is swear the whole time.
You wrote it. You
He's
wrote
a
it.
toxic little
You're such a noob.
bastard.
You're garbage.
Yeah.
You're garbage. You're trash, kid. You're trash. Yeah. Wow.
Little toxic Terry. Yeah.
Never mind.
Be fun.
I was trying to find a reason to bring up the
The
Wizard,
Wizard.
in this
It's fine.
conversation.
It worked.
It's
I
one of
like
my
it.
it's one of those movies that you love to see.
Good
it.
times. Oh yeah. I don't know if it could be made today, honestly, but
No.
yeah, it'd be fun to think about.
Yeah.
Would be too
So-
toxic. I'm sorry.
One interesting juxtaposition that I thought about, I was like, what game do you really enjoy? And so Jedi Fallen Order and now Jedi Survival, which is coming
It's
out.
on my list.
It's
Yes.
really interesting to think of a movie creating a video game that isn't just playing through what happens in the film. There's a lot of video games where you just play the course of the film,
Sure,
but
it's the same
actually
thing, right?
taking the lore and the storyline of a movie-based franchise and making a different story, and then wanting to see that come back and be made
Yes.
into a show. It's a really interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones that came to my mind today. I was like, I really want to see Fallen Order on the show. It's a great story. Like, it's a great story, great characters, great locations. They went all over the place. They weren't on Tatooine. So it visually was stunning, And it was kind of dark, it was kind of messed up. So I would love to see that. And it's kind of weird because it is a video game, but it's really a video game based on a movie. So I want a movie based on a video game based on movies.
Yes.
Yes.
It's full circle. And another one that came out this year is Hogwarts Legacy, where, again, it's an IP that I enjoy, regardless of anything else, because I'm good at separating the art from the artist. And I
Right.
really enjoyed Hogwarts Legacy. And they're talking about remaking Harry Potter, the books, as a TV show, when Hogwarts Legacy is
right
set
there, right?
before all of the stuff. Like, there's no Grindelwald or Dumbledore or Voldemort, none of that. Of course, there's no Harry. It's set before that period, and it creates its own storyline. And I would like to see that made into a show rather than the same exact story that's been in
Right.
books and movies.
That we've all seen multiple times.
Yeah, I'm just surprised they didn't do that. Like
It's
they had
a really
it there.
well
They knew
thought
they
out
could have done it.
storyline from this game. And it's a brand
That
new
is weird.
storyline that wasn't written by the original
Somebody.
author.
Right? So it'd be perfect. It would have been perfect for HBO, this new HBO Max, which is just called Max now.
Max.
By the way, coming out.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I can't keep up with all this, man.
Who knows? It
I
changes
know.
every day.
Next year it's going to be called Max Plus.
Max.
Max plus X.
And then there's the late at night one, Max XXX.
Oh, with Vin Diesel? Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, with Vin Diesel, of course.
Max Headroom and Vin Diesel, yeah.
Yeah.
Max X X X X. Sorry.
Oh God, yes. Good old Max Headroom. The only other one I wanted to mention, just because it is also a fairly popular franchise, I think would work well, whether it's a TV show or movie, would be Red Dead Redemption.
Yes. Okay.
Very
'Cause I don't want to
popular.
play the video game. I want to watch this. Just give it
Yeah.
to me so I can consume. So I don't have to.
It's
hold
the same thing as The
controller.
Last of Us. There's a lot of people I think in your shoes that keep hearing about it, but they don't want to sit around at a campfire for 12 hours in a game or play poker.
Not only
or
that,
whatever.
that's a show that wouldn't have to be heavy on CGI because it's
No,
based
exactly.
in Old West, so you don't have
All
to.
West. Yep.
People love Old West. Like that
go out
was
to
a
the
super
backyard.
hot genre. Then it fell out.
Yep.
Now I think it's time for a comeback.
It's time for a comeback. Redemption. And I think it's a great story. I think both of them are a great story, and I say do it in the order they came out, because the second one is actually a prequel. But you start with the original, and you go back to the prequel. Do that. Bang, it's already written for you.
And you're right.
Like Alex to watch it.
People are nuts over westerns. Look at 1885. Is that what it is? 1886 or something?
No idea.
The prequel to Yellowstone. Isn't
Yeah,
all
no
that
idea.
just western
Yes,
storylines?
it's all Western stuff, I
It's,
think.
it's all
Don't
Western
give me
stuff.
the I don't have an idea. You literally just answered my question.
I'm just being silly. Yeah, Westerns are kind of starting to come back a little bit, so I think that could work pretty easily. And it's gory, and there's lots of violence and nudity and fun stuff. So, it'd be a good HBO show, a Max show. So,
There's something that is actually in production that I did want to talk about.
yeah,
You're
Didn't want to talk
making
about?
BioShock.
Okay, we can move on.
yeah.
Sorry, what was it?
They're making BioShock. Like BioShock.
Oh,
is
are they
one of
actually
the
going to
most-
make? I heard they're
It-
teasing it for a long time.
Yeah, it's one of the most visually stunning worlds of any video game ever, just in terms of what they created to make that as a hopefully a show. They have
Is it a
3
show or
games to
movie?
work with. I think it's a show.
Do we know who's directing it? Because if it's not Guillermo del Toro, I'm not too sure why they're doing it.
See, that's why I'm liking that they're gonna make all this stuff shows and
So you don't have to
and
play the
everything.
games.
So I don't have to play the
Oh,
games.
it's a movie that's going to Netflix. Oh,
Interesting. That could be hit or miss then.
yeah.
I mean, unless they're
Uh-oh.
gonna try and build multiple movies.
That deserves to be cinematic. Like that is. That's a shame. That's a shame.
And it's going to be directed by the guy who did Hunger Games and I Am Legend.
Forget. All right, it's dead in the water.
For our listeners, I've never seen Prog's eyes roll so far in the back of his head.
Oh, you're talking about one of the most visually stunning video games ever made, and you give it to that person.
Well, it's written, though,
offense.
by the guy who did Logan and Blade Runner 2049.
All right, but still, we need visuals too.
Yeah, you need the visuals
Need
for
to get
BioShock.
script.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not get Guillermo del Toro, somebody like him, somebody that caliber who creates great, unique sets like that, that has style? I don't know.
You know,
Not
there's
that
probably
Hunger Games doesn't have style. It's just not the kind of style I'm into.
there's probably people out there screaming, "Oh, why don't they just talk about this movie? This was a fantastic movie. If you guys have movies that we are missing here, leave it in the comments. We
Like
want to
Elden
know
Ring or
these.
something, yeah.
Let us know. Let us
us
know
know.
a
What do you
good
want?
video or movie, all that stuff. And I'm talking Double Dragon. That one's for you, Jimmy Weber. Double Dragon, the movie. I've got it on VHS, actually.
I'm sorry, you do.
So I did an unboxing, and Jimmy sent the VHS and a bunch of toys. So I'll put the link to that unboxing with this episode,
Nice.
just so people can get double time of all of this. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, if you're interested in video game movies.
We are.
Hopefully you are if you've made it this
I
far.
know.
Seriously, right?
Or else, what are you doing here?
So, yeah, to everyone listening, let us know. Were you a fan of Last of Us? Were you a fan of Mario? What video games are you excited for Nintendo Cinematic Universe? Are you excited for any of the things we mentioned? Is there something we didn't talk about, some video game that you love, that you would love to see become a movie or TV show? Be sure to reach out to us. And to everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next time.
Prog out.
Adios, y'all.